Alright, hi everyone, this is Oscar with LoneStarOnlineSolutions.com, better known as SciSop. This video is pretty much a beginner's guide, quick video on how to install CentOS 8 or CentOS or CentOS, whatever, however you want to call it, in a virtual machine. I'm running a virtual machine right now in CentOS 8. I'm going to use these virtual machines for other examples, and I use them for other things too, for work related stuff. So let's go from there. I downloaded a ISO of CentOS 8 from one of their mirrors they have on their website. So there's several ways to do this actually. We can do it through virtual machine style, or you can install it with a CD-ROM or DVD-ROM, or even using a USB jump drive, USB memory drive, where you can plug in your USB into your laptop or desktop and install it that way. This way, we're gonna use a live ISO, and this ISO will be locally downloaded, so it's going to be a local install. I'll just browse to where it's at, and it's under downloads, CentOS 8, open. I'm just going to put, you can leave it. However you want, but whatever. So that's a new thing actually. I didn't used to ask that before, but you can name it if you wanted to, or change it later on. Doesn't really matter, so I'll just leave it the way it is. What? You little sapsucker. Why would you give me options for really old? Whatever. Let's keep going forward. Okay. So it asks that because of the permissions that are set. I usually don't run into that problem when I'm doing this as a root login, but right now I'm logged in as my regular SciSop account. So that's usually when I see that message pop up about the not being able to search. So if you see that, go ahead and click yes, or allow it to. But if you're doing this as root, odds are you're not going to see any type of permission errors. So how many CPUs? Up to 4 available. Since it's only going to be an example, I'll just use 1. In memory, I think the minimum required is like 2 gigs, I think. So I'll just put 222, and I'll leave it as 1 CPU. I'm only going to use it for examples. It's not like a system machine or anything, but if you are using it for different things, or your main system, your daily driver, for a basic, a server or whatever, you're going to want the max, right? But again, it's a virtual machine for me. So, and this is just a regular setup, so I'm just going to hit forward. I don't need that much space. I'm going to do 10 gigs. That's enough for this, just for stuff. No, you know what? I'll do 15. No, you know what? I changed my mind again. We'll do 8. So, forward. Name. Just put CentOS 8. This here is just, I know this is a machine on how to install CentOS 8, so this is giving you a little bit more. So, sorry about that. So, we'll finish. So there we go. Now, it gets to the screen. This screen will load up once we get this part set up, creating the virtual machine, and we tell it what ISO we want. Then this screen will load up, because it's loading that ISO into the machine because it booted it up. So right now what it's doing is it's running the install script, and it's only running on one CPU, so it's gonna be a little slow. So I'm gonna pause the video and let it do its thing while we get to the install GUI menu. Yay. Great. So this didn't take as long as I thought it was going to take, but this is just the beginning. So yeah, everything else is probably going to take, all the packages and stuff. So we get to this screen and it's asking us what language we want to use. So, since my target audience is going to be English, perhaps Spanish, I'm just going to do English for the United States, for America. And continue. So here, like I said, this is for beginners to intermediate. The installation source is my ISO. The language is, American, or English, I should say. Time and date. Here you can set the time and date here, but I usually set it once I get it going. I'll set up NTP or hook it up to an NTP server that I want to use, and go from there. See, so it tells you right here, you need to set up networking first if you want to use NTP, but you can use this for now. So once you find your time zone, set it for that so you can have the right time. We're under the Chicago time zone, so we're done for that. Under the network and host, if this is hooked up to a computer, since this is a virtual machine, I want to go ahead and turn on the networking for it. But if you're doing this on a regular install or for your regular computer or whatever, just go ahead and turn it on. It'll make it easier. It won't be as confusing when you first log in and nothing will work when you try to get online and stuff or do updates. Here you can give it a host name. I can just put centos. We can always change this later. Centos 8 test bench. Apply. It's not gonna like it because it doesn't want spaces, so I just remembered that. So we'll put underscore. No, don't do it. What are you doing? I don't know why those little dots came out. Apply. No, okay, it's not gonna let me. Okay. Okay, I'll just put CentOS as test. Whatever. I'll change that more later. So anyways, we're done with that. The security policy, this is a little bit outside the scope of what I'm doing. So the software selection, here you get to pick what you want. So basically, that sounds simple, right? So a server with GUI means you install a server and a GUI on top of it. So it allows you to use your server to log into graphically. You can log into it, do all kinds of changes and edits with an operating system graphically. So if you don't want to do that, you can choose server. So it will install a server without the GUI. And now you get a lot of people, like old school people, or I guess a lot of even current users that will tell you that you don't need a GUI and that a basic server will work just fine. And I kind of agree with that you don't really need the GUI. It's just a lot of extra space that gets wasted when you install it. But if you're new to it, or if you're not familiar with Linux and how things work through the GUI, through the terminal or the command line, then I would do it that way. And maybe in the future, the next install, you could just do it without the GUI. So if you're just learning, I would do it with the GUI. People that are more intermediate or experts can do it just as a regular server. If you plan on doing not a lot of things to it, if you already gonna have a thing in mind, like setting up a lab server or something like that, which I have videos about that, you can just do a regular server. It'll be just fine. Thing about doing a GUI though is when you're taking the RHCSA exam for Linux admin exam, like for Rel 8, if the test has a GUI, the server you use, and it makes it a lot faster to do some things like making changes to the firewall or network changes, things like that. There's a lot of things you can do faster with the GUI, and there's a lot of other stuff you can do way faster with just a command line. So I guess it depends. If you're taking a test in a test environment, yeah, you'd want to use a server with GUI, because it'll still have command line and GUI, which is, best of two worlds. But if, I guess it just depends. If you have any questions on what you need, you can just leave me a comment or whatever, send a message. So the minimum install, I don't like doing that, because then I have to go in and install everything. I have to install locate and all kinds of stuff. So I usually do server with GUI. Now a workstation is great if you want to use this as a daily computer, work, school, whatever. The here you can do custom. I usually never mess with that. Now the virtualization host, this is what you can click on to, and it'll come ready for containers or virtual machines. So you can do virtualization platform, container, headless management, things like that. That's a little bit outside of the scope for what I'm talking about, but that's where you can go with that. Now you don't necessarily have to click this and then start doing all this. You can do server with GUI and then go to the right side and click the extra things you want to install, like extra packages or whatever, like a Windows file server, file and storage server, FTP server, all these things you can install while you're installing your CentOS system. So for this, I'm just going to do a server. I'm not going to do a GUI, and for now I don't want to install any other packages, because I'm going to use that as a base system and install everything and show people, make videos about it or whatever, or just use it to destroy things, destroy it and test things. But yeah, so I'm gonna just choose server. Okay, done. Now the automatic destination, the installation destination, that rhymes, right? Basically in this section you're gonna see your hard drives that are available. Now if you want to do a side-by-side install, or a dual boot, like have Windows boot, have a choice to boot between Windows and Linux, you can do that. That's a little bit outside of the beginner video, but if you want me to show you how to do that, I can. Just leave a request or whatever, send a message. Now 99% of the time, beginners, you're gonna want to do everything automatic. Now here I use this for laptops. I encrypt my data, so what happens is it'll ask you for a password before your system even boots. So if you don't have the password, somebody can't just steal your hard drive and go plug it in somewhere and then start snooping around, because your data will be encrypted. So some people, they're like, I don't need that because I don't have nothing to hide. But not to get political or nothing. I mean, I don't have nothing to hide, but just because I don't have anything to say doesn't mean they should take my freedom of speech away. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned. But anyways, getting outside of so here we leave the way it is, since this is a beginner install. Hit done, and that's it. I mean, that's pretty much it. I always make sure that KDump is available. It's a basic troubleshooting mechanism thingy, where it's not as detailed as other systems, but it's good enough. It does its job. So the security policy, again, we're not going to mess with that because it's a little bit more advanced. So we'll hit begin installation. Now it's doing its thing. So because I just shows server, it doesn't have like 80 or 1,000 packages to install. If you would have chose GUI with all the other extra packages, it would have said package 200, installing package 20 out of 2,000 or 20 out of 1,000, and it would probably take about 10-15 minutes to install, depending on your system speed or whatever. So I would say between 5 or 10 minutes to install, and you would see the status. It would say package 500 out of 600, 5. See, you see it, there it goes. So on the bigger install, this would be somewhere around maybe 1,500, 1,200 files that it's installing. So yeah, anyway, so we're gonna set a root password, and I guess I mean, as root, you can set almost anything you want, because your root, you can even ignore the password recommendations if you're root. So I mean, usually you don't want to do that, but maybe with root you can do it. So there's my root password. Now I always create a user, like a daily driver user, and that's my nickname, so that's what I do. And so I'll just do a password for that, whatever you want to use, as long as you don't forget. You don't have to set a password, but it's safe to do so. So require password, size up. You can even have a user and not require a password, and as soon as the computer turns on, it will log into that. But I'm just, like I said, I'm more into security, and I don't want that. So we'll hit done, and there it's doing its little thing. And once this is done, you're pretty much literally done. It's gonna say on the bottom right here, hit reboot, and that's it. I mean, it's that simple. And once you reboot, your system will boot up. You might see some funny little scrolling text messages, but you'll boot up, log in, and you're done. That's it. It's that easy. If you have any comments or suggestions or questions, whatever, leave a comment, like, subscribe. If you need help with anything else, leave a comment. I'm more than happy to either respond directly or make another video if I have to. So we'll go from there. I'll make some more videos on installing other operating systems like Ubuntu and Fedora and things like that. So subscribe and stay tuned. Yay! Yay!